Pollock is a valuable fish species, often caught in cold seas such as the North Pacific. One of the common methods of catching this fish is to use trawlers. This type of fishing vessel is equipped with a large net system that is lowered to the seabed or suspended in the middle of the water to sweep through areas with high fish density. The fishing process begins with the captain and crew using positioning equipment and sonar to accurately determine the location of the Pollock school. Once a suitable location has been determined, the vessel will lower the trawl net into the water, moving at a slow speed so that the net can expand and collect the fish inside. The time to pull the net can last from a few dozen minutes to a few hours, depending on sea conditions and fish density. Once completed, the net will be pulled up to the deck using a hydraulic winch system. The pollock is then classified and refrigerated on board to ensure quality before being brought back to port. This process requires close coordination between crew members, as well as experience and technical skills in operating trawlers to ensure high catch yields while minimizing impacts on the marine environment and non-target species. After the pollock is brought aboard, preliminary processing is usually carried out immediately to ensure the quality of the fish meat. Depending on the size and equipment of the vessel, the fish can be cleaned, gutted, flash frozen or transferred to cold storage compartments for storage. Modern vessels often have a closed preliminary processing system on board, saving time and maintaining the freshness of the product throughout the multi-day fishing trip. In addition, data on location, quantity of fish caught, trawling time and other technical parameters are also carefully recorded to serve the statistical work and management of aquatic resources. The trawling of pollock requires strict compliance with international regulations on quotas and protection of marine life. In order to maintain the sustainability of the fishery and protect the ocean ecosystem, at the same time, measures such as the use of equipment to classify unwanted organisms, limiting trawling in areas with coral reefs or sensitive seabeds are also being applied more and more widely. Thanks to the combination of science and technology and practical experience, pollock fishing activities today not only bring great economic value but also aim at sustainable development and responsibility for the marine environment in addition to the obvious economic benefits. Pollock trawling also faces many challenges. One of the biggest problems is the impact on the seabed environment and non-target species. As the trawl moves along the seabed, it can disturb the sediment, destroying the natural habitat of many species such as corals, sponges and other benthic animals. In addition, non-selective fishing can easily lead to the phenomenon of bycatch, that is, catching unwanted fish and marine life, including rare or endangered species. To overcome this, many modern fishing vessels are equipped with bycatch reduction devices, BRDs, which help to minimize ecological losses. At the same time, international organizations and governments are also making efforts to tighten the management of pollock fishing through licensing, satellite monitoring, port inspections and requiring transparency in the origin of seafood. Some sea areas are also planned as prohibited or restricted fishing areas to preserve fish populations and restore marine ecosystems. Although these measures require investment costs and close cooperation between stakeholders, they are necessary steps to protect pollock resources for future generations, in the context of increasing demand for pollock in the world market. Especially in countries such as Korea, Japan, Russia and the US, maintaining an efficient, safe and sustainable fishing model is not only the responsibility of the fisheries industry but also an urgent requirement from conscious consumers. In addition, weather factors and natural conditions are also major challenges in the process of catching pollock by trawlers. This fish lives mainly in cold seas, where snowstorms, big waves and icebergs often occur, posing a danger to fishing boats and crews. The seasonal migrations of pollock also force fishermen to constantly adjust their schedules and fishing locations, requiring flexibility and a deep understanding of the biological habits of this fish. Furthermore, to maintain high quality and commercial value, pollock needs to be preserved and transported under strict conditions of temperature and hygiene. Therefore, modern fishing vessels are not only a means of harvesting but also act as floating factories at sea, where the entire cycle from catching, processing to preserving products takes place. Investment in technology, human resource training and the application of international standards on traceability are also increasingly focused on to meet the increasingly stringent requirements of export markets. Many large seafood companies have partnered with certification organizations such as the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, to ensure that pollock products are sourced from sustainable sources and do not negatively impact the marine environment. This not only enhances brand reputation and value, but also opens the door to high-end markets such as Europe and North America. It can be seen that the pollock trawl fishing industry is gradually transforming towards modernization and sustainable development. Contributing to creating stable livelihoods for thousands of fishermen, while preserving and promoting the precious marine resources that nature has bestowed, not only stopping at the catching and preliminary processing stages. The value chain of the pollock fishing industry also extends to deep processing and global distribution activities, creating a variety of products such as frozen fish fillets, breaded fish, fish sausages, and convenience foods. Thanks to its white meat, few bones, light taste and high nutritional value, pollock becomes an ideal ingredient in the processed food industry. At factories, pollock after being transported from ships to ports will go through stages such as defrosting, skinning, filleting, quality inspection, vacuum packaging and second freezing, before being distributed to supermarkets, restaurants and end consumers. All of these processes are carried out according to strict food hygiene and safety standards. Ensuring stable quality and safety for consumers' health. On the other hand, pollock fishing is also important to the economy and society of many coastal countries. Not only does it contribute greatly to export revenue, it also creates jobs for hundreds of thousands of workers in related fields such as shipbuilding, mechanics, logistics, cold storage and food processing. Many fishing communities in coastal areas of Russia, Korea, Japan and the US have been formed and developed in association with pollock fishing for many generations. However, to ensure harmonious development between economic benefits and environmental protection, fisheries management needs to continue to be improved towards the application of digital technology, automation and transparency of exploitation data. This is also an inevitable trend in the context of climate change. Declining aquatic resources and increasing global consumption pressure. From a traditional fishing activity, pollock trawling is gradually transforming into part of a green, efficient and responsible supply chain for the future of the ocean. In addition to strong development in technology and production scale, the pollock fishing industry is also facing increasing demands for transparency and traceability. Modern consumers, especially in developed countries, are not only concerned with product quality but also question the process of catching fish, whether it violates fishing ethics, causes environmental damage or overexploitation. Therefore, many businesses and fishing associations have implemented a system to record and monitor the entire fishing journey, from the location of the net, the time of trawling, the type of equipment used, to the processing. Packaging and transportation stages. These data are integrated on a digital platform, accessible via QR codes printed on product packaging, creating absolute trust for consumers, while contributing to preventing commercial fraud and protecting national brands. In the near future, the pollock fishing industry will likely continue to change dramatically under the influence of artificial intelligence, sensor technology, satellites and automation systems. New generation fishing vessels can be semi-automatically controlled, using real-time data on water temperature, currents, fish density to optimize routes and reduce fuel consumption. At the same time, systems to identify unwanted organisms and smart trawls will significantly reduce the rate of bycatch. All these technological, managerial and cognitive advances are aimed at a common goal, to make pollock fishing a precious ocean resource, not only economically viable, but also environmentally safe, equitable to fishing communities and sustainable for the future. In this way, fishing is not only a way of life, but also part of our responsibility to protect the seas and maintain the ecological balance of the planet. Ultimately, for the pollock trawl fishery to develop in a comprehensive and sustainable manner, coordination between countries, international organizations and fishing communities is key. Pollock is a seasonal migratory species that frequently travels through the exclusive economic zones of many countries. Therefore, if a single country strictly manages the fishery while others exploit it freely, the resource can still be depleted. Therefore, the signing of international agreements on responsible fishing, quota sharing, production control and cooperative fisheries monitoring is essential. Organizations such as the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, and regional fishing alliances have played an important role in providing guidance, standards, and common policies to protect the sustainability of this fish species on a global scale. Not only at the macro level, local fishing communities also need to be supported to improve their capacity. From modern fishing techniques to knowledge about marine conservation, organizing training courses, encouraging sustainable fishing practices. Supporting access to finance and international markets will help them not only survive but also thrive in an increasingly demanding industry. At the same time, educating consumers about the importance of sustainable seafood and encouraging the choice of clearly certified products also contributes to creating momentum for the entire value chain to change in a more positive direction. From there, a circle of mutual support is formed: responsible development of fisheries, protection of the marine environment, consumer rights are guaranteed, the life of the fishing community is improved. That is the right and long-term path for the Pollock fishing industry in particular and the world's fisheries industry in general in the 21st century. In addition to sustainable management and development, the Pollock fishing industry also needs to actively adapt to increasingly obvious climate changes on a global scale. Changes in sea temperature, ocean currents and ocean acidification levels are directly affecting the distribution range, migration and reproduction habits of pollock. In some sea areas, scientists have recorded the phenomenon of fish moving further away, deeper or to colder water areas to survive, making it difficult to fish using traditional methods. This requires the industry to constantly update scientific knowledge. Closely monitor environmental developments and be ready to adjust exploitation strategies as well as invest in new equipment to adapt to the changing reality every day. In addition, models of pollock farming in artificial environments or combining natural fishing and offshore aquaculture, mariculture, are also being studied to reduce pressure on natural fish resources. If successful, this could be an important step forward to help balance the growing consumer demand and the ocean's ability to regenerate. However, for this model to be effective, it requires thorough investment in technology, disease control, quality breeding and especially the consensus of the fishing community, those who have long been associated with natural fishing. In short, pollock fishing by trawlers is a very important and long-standing socio-economic activity. But it is also facing the need for strong innovation to suit the new era. Amidst environmental, market, technological and ethical challenges, the industry is forced to transform, from destructive exploitation to sustainable development. From mass production to responsible sourcing. From individual competition to global cooperation. It is not an easy journey, but it is also promising if people know how to act promptly, have a long-term vision and put the common interests of the earth above all. Protecting pollock resources is also preserving the life of the ocean, a precious and sacred resource of all humanity. Therefore, in the overall picture of the world's fisheries, pollock is not only a commercial seafood but also a symbol of global efforts to balance exploitation and conservation. Countries with large pollock reserves, such as Russia, the United States, South Korea and Japan, not only compete with each other in terms of output but also constantly promote cooperation initiatives. Sharing scientific research data and fisheries management techniques. International and intergovernmental organizations play an intermediary role to help countries sit down and agree on fishing quotas, seasonal fishing bans, and quality control standards. That spirit of international solidarity has helped the pollock fishery become one of the few large-scale fisheries in the world that has remained relatively sustainable in a context where many other resources are in serious decline. The Pollock story also conveys a larger message about how humans exploit natural resources, that any action, even for economic development purposes, must be placed within the limits of nature. Building a productive fishery is not just a race for quantity or immediate profit, but a long-term process of patience and commitment, requiring close coordination between all parties, from fishermen, scientists, businesses, governments to consumers. Each link in the value chain plays an indispensable role in sustaining life in the ocean and the livelihoods of millions of people. Looking to the future, if the Pollock fishing industry continues to maintain its current positive direction, combining technological innovation, effective management and promoting transparency, this will not only be an industry that brings great economic value, but also an ideal model for sustainable development in the field of marine resource exploitation. That is the hope for both the ocean and future generations, those who will continue to preserve and cherish the precious resources that nature has bestowed. From a cultural and social perspective, Pollock is not only an important food source but also deeply attached to the spiritual life and culinary identity of many coastal ethnic groups. In Korea, Pollock is considered the national fish. Present in hundreds of traditional dishes such as grilled dried fish, spicy pollock soup, bulgogi, or fish marinated in chili sauce. In Japan and Russia, pollock also plays a leading role in many rustic to high-end dishes. From famous caviar to steamed, grilled dishes, or soups rich in ocean flavor. From that, it can be seen that, besides its economic value,